So again, welcome everybody. I hope that you're all well and that you're looking forward to today's presentation. I think that in Denmark and the Netherlands, classes have already started. We in Ljubljana are still waiting for our students to come to school because we have still summer holidays. But nevertheless, I hope that as many students as possible from all three institutions have joined us today, because we are also presenting their work, and it would be great if these students could see what their colleagues from other two schools have achieved and created in this project. So how will the meeting proceed? Firstly, I'm going to ask Crystal Arvik from Design School in Kolding to present the project, the general content of the models and the website. Then the results of the models will be presented by the schools in the order you can see here on the slide. And we agreed that each institution will present their work in about 15 minutes. And after each presentation, there will be space for 1 or 2 questions. And as the work package 2 comes to an end, Crystal will also present the next work package 3, led by Design School in Kolding at the end. And then you can still ask, give questions, and we will try to answer you and give us some feedback and comments. So I hope that we will finish at about 5:30. So that's it, and let's begin. And Kristen, you have the floor now, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And yes, I'll just share this here and take you to, can you see my screen with the presentation? Good.
Yes.
Good. Then, yes, so first and foremost, this is the MIUAS project, which is EU funded and a 3-year project that we're doing in collaboration with the University of Ljubljana from Slovenia and Willem de Kooning from the Netherlands, and then Design School Kolding from Denmark. The project as such goes for, okay, I am not sharing, yeah, okay, now it's coming. It was just a bit slower than I was. So through this project, we are going to develop some online material, educational material in the library, and all the focus goes on how can we use digital tools in a Bachelor of Fashion Education, where we focus on using the tools for a green transition, diversity and inclusion. And now we have the first year ready. And I'd like to show where you can find the material in the on the website. And this is the landing page of the MIUAS. Do you follow me? Do you see the MIUAS still website? If I hear no, I take it as that. So if I'm just going to click here on About, you see that these are the 3 universities working together. We are building in the progression. So the first year here is all about virtual prototyping. How can we implement that into our existing cultural way of teaching? And then we'll build on the progression for next year with the inclusion and diversity in body scanning and so on. As you can see, the 3rd year also, third work package, we're going to focus on using AI, VR and AR. This collaboration here very much is we align as much as we can, but we also stay true to the cultural background we have. And we are not alone out there. We have not only the 3 higher education with all the staff, but we also have associated partners that are very keen to support us with state-of-the-art and how to develop, and also give us really good and valuable feedback. And here, as you can see, if you have not yet signed up to our newsletter, so if you want to keep up on what we're doing and follow our tracks, sign up for the newsletter here. I'm now going up here to the, you can see how we've got the menus up here. So if we go to the modules, we have the first module ready. We have 3 different course modules here, one by University of Ljubljana, who has had the lead for this, developing this work package. And then VDKR, as we call them in daily speak, the Willem de Kooning has made one, and we have made one at Design School Kolding. When you scroll down here in under the modules, you will see there's a course description. This is the why are we doing the things we're doing, and if I click on that link, you have a downloadable piece of document here that you can delve into and see what in this case University of Ljubljana have done, how long is the course, the content, and so on. And if we go, for instance, here to the module 2, we can see the lesson plans as well. This is how it's been done, and again, it's a downloadable document, this done by Willem de Kooning, and you can see exactly how they have made a very intricate course with tracks in and out of both digital and physical, and of course they're going to develop on that later, or tell us about this later. And here we have also the course module from Design School Kolding, and with an example of this is the reflection sheet that the students at Design School Kolding had to fill in. Again, it's a downloadable document here. Then if you scroll further down, you can see we have our own channel where we have uploaded tutorials that represent the way we use the program at each higher educational institution. And they might differ from the ones, because the thing is, Clo3D already have a really extensible library on tutorials and quick fixes when things do not work. But these are more a window into how we use the programs at the schools. You can also, I mean, if we in the library here, you will see the possibilities of seeing just the course description, if that is what is of interest, or the lesson plans, the link to the tutorials, or by higher educational institution, or you can go to the extended library of what the students have achieved in this. And I'll just stress the fact that these are all first-year students doing this really remarkable work. Yes, I think that was the introduction to the actual course what we have done and achieved, and the website, go explore it some more. And I would like to now go back and show you what we have achieved at or what the students have achieved, I should say, at the Design School Kolding. So yes, okay, so with me today from Design School Kolding, I have, sorry, linked again. With me today from Design School Kolding, I also have Ulla Rebil, who is the who is part of this project, and I could see a couple of colleagues as well. And I do also have a student called Tia Trasbeck-Smith, whose project we're just going to show at the end, so you can see how the overall 9 years week course was. And you're able to ask her question as well, what it was like being in this class. So the work package 2 from Design School Kolding, our focus or course was called Virtual Prototyping and Digital Printing. It was a 2 weeks course, and it was a 2 weeks course placed at the end tail of a 9 weeks in total course on color and visualization on the second semester. Our focus in this here was sustainability and how we can minimize waste in toiles and print using digital prototyping and digital print on patterns. There was also a talk on inclusion, but in both inclusion and diversity was of much less focus in this very course here. But within diversity, we did also talk about standard sizing within the industry and how we differ even within the same size. We can differ in shape. This is just a quick example so you can see what we're talking about. This is the final design of our student Sabine, and they had to make their own print, and the print had to be scaled to the shape they'd made. So they thought this was the perfect one. And then after that, they had to digital print it with sublimation printing in half-size scale. Here comes another example of a student's project where a streaked bacon was used as the print design. And another example of how previously in the course they had done some sketching, and those sketching were turned into virtual prototype sketching as well. The course plan was, so we had 2 weeks in all, and because it's so tight and it's a good way to be prepared, the students, we've sent them links already of the links to the tutorials from Clo3D on how the whole interface is, what it looks like, and the 2D windows and the 3D windows, but just as an appetizer, just so they'd seen it before and perhaps started thinking about it. There were also links, and all the links you can find in the course plan on the website, links on podcasts, links on videos, and inspirational material through there. So day 1, general introduction, so general in the class, and then we were two teachers, so one was in front of the computer, the other teacher would go around and help out if anything occurred. And it was an alternating between general introduction and individual practicing. So this is new learning, and now you try it out. So it was forth and back like that. Same for the second day, and on the third day they have self-study with access to computers and the program. Fourth day, we started delving much more into materials, print textures, using colorway, and how can we test what we have done and keep experimenting. On the fifth day the final day of the first week, they were introduced to rendering, but also they prepared the design for sublimation print. And there is a special video regarding this because as it is for right now, when you add seam allowance to a pattern in Clo3D, you don't see the print going over spilling into the this is very technical, but spilling into the seam allowance, and we needed that for making it easier to sew together afterwards with a nice print. Day 6, there are 2 teachers here. One was a textile designer who helped with the digital sublimation printing, and the other teacher was helping with rendering and further development in Clo3D. Day 7, that was a one-on-one supervision for whatever was needed on the class. Day 8, finalizing and preparing for presentation. So this was like going through what is it you want to show from what you wanted to make. And day 9 is what we always have a design school calling when we finish a course, and that is a presentation in class. Everybody presents their material, and all peers and all teachers will give feedback and feed forward, and at the end of the day we'll have an oral feedback from the students to the teachers on what the class was like or the course was like, and what could be changed or made, or what worked for next time. So the links were for tutorials, for digital printing, podcasts and videos. And there were in between, there were talks and lectures on various topics that had to do with these 2 weeks. And one of them was this history of mannequins. I stumbled upon this really nice little video on our Instagram from the Fashion Textile Museum that takes us through a historical view on how we have been using prototyping and using half size and middle sizes to show and travel and send around to showcase our ideas. These are just 3 of the examples from the presentation as well of how previously royals would send the latest designs around to their royal friends around Europe. And after the Second World War, we had the Théâtre de la Mode, where France tried to get their country back and running through, one of the means was through fashion and send these dolls around the world. And then there had been the homage from various companies later on. We made our own tutorials where needed, where it made sense from the way we have developed and we taught the classes. And the deliveries, half size top dress with digital print of their own design in 3 colorways, 3 different digital materials, 3 times print scaled and rendered. And then the reflection on the learning and further use of the program and survey of digital knowledge before and after the course. And these are a couple of examples. In this case here, it's the physical half size. This is a rendered. And here we have colorways and a physical half size digital printed version. And this is where I want to take Tia, who's here today. I've used her examples just to let you understand what they were. So when they come for only 2 weeks, they're actually standing on so much more. And this is they're standing on a color workshop where they blend and print and paint these colors all by themselves. They find an object from nature and find all the colors of this object. Then they go on to find inspiration, and from the inspiration they make print and they make shape. Here it's a half size again, and test what kind of shape could fit what I was inspired by, and go on to make the silhouettes, the drawn experimentation as well. And then at this point here, brought this drawing to the Clo class and said, I would like to make this one. And this is the beauty of being a teacher in creative educations, that you always have to walk new paths with the students and thinking, okay, how do we make, in this case, this one here? And then this was the finished silhouette with the print, the test of the colors in the print, the test of the scaling of the print, what does it mean to this shape, the testing of materials, and here the final result of the design. Students' feedback, pros and cons, and just as I was going through this a minute before presentation, I saw under pros it says a difficult program. I'm not sure the students meant that, and one of the pros was that it was a difficult program, but what they did like was that because it was a difficult program, it was great to have 2 teachers, and they liked the general topics. They liked the talks on sustainability with industry and Clo. Some of the cons were too little time for refining, and the frustrating of the general teaching and then having to go in and do your own, and then just as you're having fun making your own, you have to go back again even if you hadn't finished. Teachers' feedback, we had really eager students. I remember on the first day one of the students asked me, how many years have you worked in this to be able to do this? And knowing that seeing then in 2 weeks they made what they did, it was just really huge learning outcome. And I knew they would be fast. Of course, they did in the first day, but I knew. I liked the full circle, that it went from physical to digital out to physical again. And also the playful experience was really nice. But from the cons, it's really high level of complexity. And our digital printer broke down on the first day. This was a huge challenge. And actually, they didn't get to print in the time frame because of this challenge we had. That left them with more time to do the rendering. So in 2 weeks, I'm not sure we would see the level of rendering if we also see the final digital printing. And then I'm thinking, is it too open? Would they need a tighter frame? I like to set them loose, but perhaps a tighter frame could make it easier as well. And this is a little extract from a reflection sheet of what the students wrote into the reflection sheet of how she imagined that it could be used for, as a tool for making garments for specific people, because you can change the avatars in a way it's much more difficult to change the dress mannequin we have in the physical world. And this was it for me from now, so I'd like to give it on to WP2. Oh, actually, sorry, I forgot. We actually have the possibility of the questions. So 1 or 2 questions. Tanya,
Yes.
would you make sure you...
2 questions, please. If anybody has any question for Crystal or maybe Tia, please. No, not yet.
Well, then
Okay.
I would like to just invite Tia to say a couple of, could you just put a couple of words to what was it like with a 2-week packed course? What was it like being a student?
Yeah, like you said, with the pros and cons, it was a really short time to have to know Chloe, but I think a good thing about this school is that we had a course in the winter where we constructed by hand, not in digital but physical construction, and that gave like a better idea how you could construct in Chloe as a digital media. Yeah. So that's nice how to like both do in physical and digital. But I think Chloe is a bit of a struggle sometimes, and it takes some time to learn. But I found it really fun, just that you could easily delete like a mistake or two, and then you could just go back and then try something new. Yeah.
Thank you, Tia. So the results were really impressive. Thank you very much. And I would like now Martina and Anouk and Paulina. I'm very, very sorry because I changed the name and surname. If you can present us your model, the model from WP2.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the presentation. It was very clear, and it's really nice to see the work that you have done as well over there. And thank you, Tia, for being here. Let me just share the screen. Yeah, I think I should start.
Yeah. Okay, so to let you know who is who, I'm Anouk van Klaveren, and it is Paulina and Martina. We're both working in the Willem de Kooning, where we sort of collaboratively worked on the package, the work package 2. And for my part, it would mean that I would be involved in the design assignment, and Paulina would really focus on the scale part. So the technical knowledge about Chloe was really coming from Paulina, and I was like joining to really guide the conceptual framework and the creative part of the students. Yeah, so first I want to take you through the course focus that we took as an institution. How can digitalization help expand students' creativity in the design process was something that we were very curious to know about. And how we can create a synergy between traditional craftsmanship and 3D virtual prototyping and pattern construction. And how can a digital working method contribute to a more sustainable, inclusive and diverse fashion practice? So the digitality would then mean like the phygital and the digital, the physical and the digital becoming one. So we were really trying to make a sort of program in which students would learn how to sort of go back and forth between traditional craftsmanship and these new techniques, but also give them space to be creative in this by obtaining these new skills. So what you see here in the presentation is how we try to achieve this digitality. We actually made 2 tracks. So every student would follow a full-time 9-week course in which they follow actually 2 simultaneous assignments that both focus on this transition between going back and forth between digital and physical, but the other way, like in 2 different directions. So in track 1, they would start like with physical prototyping. So it would mean like draping, but also drawing, making collages. And then in the middle of the term, so in week 5, they would start to digitize this pattern and actually develop it further in Clo. So how can you go from a very manual process towards a digital end result? And then in track 2, it was completely the opposite. So people would start with draping classes in Clo 3D. So they would get taught by Paulina how to use the program and really be creative while developing their skills, which was quite challenging. We'll talk about that more. And then in the middle of these 9 weeks, at week 5, they would print a pattern that from their final design and start to actually execute what they have designed. So it would be sort of cross-line learning in which they, in one track, really focus on a digital process with a physical garment as an end result. And on the other side, a physical prototyping process that leads to a digital garment. And in the middle, this interesting point of shift. So then I want to briefly explain our academy structure, because it's quite relevant to understand the way how we have organized also our learning materials. So in Willem de Kooning Academy, we have this station approach. It means that each department, so also the fashion department, is connected to a station, in our case the fabric station. And in the fabric station, they get offered the skills that they need to be able to design in the fashion department. But the fabric station would also be accessible for other students, for example. So it's always going this back and forth between design and conceptualization and creativity towards this skill part, where you really get the knowledge to know how to work with techniques and tools. And I want to go a bit further into the track 2, the digital to physical, because in our this is actually a new assignment we have developed. So for the 2 tracks, we have implemented them in our existing program, which is about workwear. Workwear theme is really something we wanted to continue in our module that we developed. So in the assignment that we made new, the apron, the workwear item of the apron was actually the central focus that for all students would be the starting point of developing a collection, or a final design. And I want to take you through the weeks that we have done with the students, just to illustrate the assignments we give them with the work that the students have made. So this is, for example, week 1. In this week, students were asked to pick an apron that they find interesting and really study the object in the cultural context of it. So each student of the class would bring like a photo series or like a pattern or image of an apron that they find fascinating for some sort of personal reason. And this would really be something that we work together on. And then simultaneously, they would have skill classes with Paulina, and she would give them the very first basics of just which buttons are there in the program, how can you drape something, what is the difference in the types of how the material is draped on these columns, for example. That was really introduction to the assignment, but also to the skills and the program of Clo3D. And then we would actually ask them to make a replica of their chosen apron. So in this stage, it was not about designing yet. It was really about getting to know the tools and using the fact that in Clo3D you don't need to work from scratch. So how to alter a pattern. How we did that is that the station developed 3 basic patterns of aprons in which they could start to manipulate. So they could stretch it, like alter the sizes of it until they would reach their chosen apron. So this is a few examples of students that succeeded very well in this. Yeah, so these were the 3 basic aprons that they actually worked from. So this is also something we have been doing for a while. It's sort of trying to assemble a pattern library. So how can the digital working methods also help to share knowledge? So how can we not only trust on maybe a German pattern technique like Rundschau, but really see all our knowledge that we add to the pattern library as a collective body of work. So we started with the 3, but we ended already with the 33 aprons of what our students have achieved in week 2. Yeah, then Paulina gave them an assignment to explore the avatar design. So this was also important because the aprons are not fashion objects, they're really embedded in a cultural tradition, and we wanted to make them aware that the program's standard settings is not what you need to stick with. So we really tried to make them think of what is the body that is wearing my design and how is the program yeah, maybe already making these categories of male and female, whereas it's maybe not relevant for my design. And yeah, so you can really make this your own. Yeah, and then in the week 3 to 5, they really had a lot of playful experiments where they would yeah, bend their inspiration and research into a sort of design exploration in which they alter the replica they made into a contemporary design. So we asked them to do this in like many ways, but here's just like a few examples of alterations that our student Tunde made with this Hungarian apron. Here's some more examples of our student Josephine, who is also working a lot with the concept of the maiden apron being a very female object, but by placing it on a man, she would sort of challenge this notion of what is female, what is male. This was also an interesting medical apron that's got like it was inspired by a very personal story about like a fear for the hospital. Yeah, and then throughout these week 3 to 5, we also came to the conclusion that it's very important to get to know how to save actually a design process, because we were used to really work in sketchbooks and put the table full of printed documents, but it didn't really work for a digital process. So we were really trying to figure out how to archive all these things that you try out. So yeah, so Paulina have taught them how to use like the camera in the program to capture it from all the sides and then bring it to the design teacher to show actually what you were working on. Yeah, and then week 5 was there. We've printed the patterns in the station, like the printing station was collaborating with us. And then actually this moment happened where you have this sort of virtual image and then you try to achieve this in real. So the second part of our term was really for this. So here you see some fantastic examples of the students trying to achieve this image that they've created in virtual space. Then I want to go with you to some student reflections. We also have some students sitting here, so maybe you can also ask them for their experiences. But some said, for example, when I sketch digitally, it's amazing that I have the pattern of my experiments straight away. So this is really a pro, that you could experiment, but directly have this sort of technical conclusion coming out of it. Some others were more critical. They say, I cannot be creative yet in virtual space because the tool is too new for me. I do like it that I'm not wasting material. So it was a bit of a double experience. Like on one side, it was quite frustrating for some, like using all the buttons, like not finding how to navigate in the program, and then already having to dive in this creative process was quite challenging. But on the other hand, it did have this also this consequence of not spending like money on your material, not having to throw this away. So yeah, it really had two sides. Oh, we gaat nu niet meer. The PowerPoint is not responding.
No, you ging.
Okay, so we have two very short clips of students that share their experience. Do we need to? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is Bob.
I think these two questions.
Are you able to hear the sound?
Yes. Okay.
Yes, we do.
Because it's just a way to save on not only pattern paper, because you don't have to cut anything out, but you save on testing fabrics, because you already know what it's gonna look like. You already know what it's gonna move like on like the model. It's just so much faster too, so it saves time. I'm mixing this.
I think you have to mute your mic.
Ah. Well, the video is already over. Shall we do it again? Was it?
Yeah, I think we can also just let the students have.
Yeah, maybe we can come back to this in the Q&A, because there are some students here. So for the sake of time, I want to continue. Okay, so going back to the sustainability and inclusivity and diversity aim of this project, yeah, we noticed that by prototyping both physically and virtually simultaneously in the two different tracks, the sustainable potential of the virtual prototyping really became clear, because the students really had these sort of processes parallel to each other. So that helped. And enhancing diversity by critically exploring giving body standards in the software was really a way to learn about this by doing CLO, and also by bringing in the cultural differences, by asking them to bring in these aprons that meant something for them. We felt that this diversity was also secured in the assignment. And inclusivity was something that we really like to look at from this perspective of sharing knowledge through open source pattern libraries. So this is really something where we also want to develop a bit more in the future. Okay. Okay, so the highlights were really like that this track, connects the analog and the digital in a simultaneous pace, and that this pattern sharing was something that very easily is done also throughout generations of students, because it's archived. And yeah, we could really see that students directly started to connect the two skills, and that they were going back and forth between digital and virtual and physical very soon. And then one area of improvement for us was to how then to archive this process, but we found a very nice tool to develop a template in which students would upload like the whole process, and this would be accessible for everyone. So instead of this table full of IDs and sketches, we would have this digital environment where students could also learn from each other's process and see how the other students go about the assignment, which was very valuable for us. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to receive some questions.
Thank you, Anouk and Paulina. And please give us some questions for WDKA module.
Some of our students in the room. They're all
glowing. I hear it.
Glowing with the.
I hear it on the ticking.
Yeah. Well, if we don't have any questions, we can maybe continue to.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much again. So I would like to ask Nastya if she can present the model we created in Ljubljana.
Yes, I will share the screen. Like this. Hi there. So my name is Nastya, and I will be presenting Module 1, which we prepared and implemented at University of Ljubljana. Main focus was to introduce a virtual prototyping while exploring students' creativity through manual and digital techniques. Today I will talk you through our module technicalities, its description, our deliverables, and I will share some reflections from the students who participated in a first year of module implementation. So when we introduced MU-US project in one of our previous activities, we mentioned that the title ME refers to empowering students in their process of digitalization, digital transformation, sorry. So this was one of our main goals across the project, but also in this module. Our aim in Ljubljana is to encourage students to explore the synergy between conventional, meaning manual, and digital techniques that are used in fashion and textile industry. Goal with this module is to understand the whole process of product design and development using digital tools as a core design tool. Ambition was also to introduce virtual prototyping and learn about some of its sustainable aspects. As we established before, our institutions have slightly different structures. At our university here in Ljubljana, we were able to implement this module within 4 subjects, while students in the meantime attended also some other subjects. We introduced this module to the first year students. We had 29 students this year, and to be efficient and that students got most out of our classes, we decided to divide them into 2 groups. The module we prepared is a 5-week full-time course. Within the course, students gain some new skills in Adobe Photoshop, and they learned mostly how to use Clo3D. Our module learning methodology is set of presentations, seminars, tutorials, teaching, self-study, and analyzing. Module started with a presentation on how digital design is shaping the fashion industry. The presentation about the history of airline dress and about an airline dress in Slovenian textile and clothing heritage. We prepared also a seminar about prints and stripes, as well as, it was about prints and stripes as an artistic element, really, which are some of our core themes for this module projects, and I will explain them later. Students were guided to refresh their knowledge of manual pattern cutting. We taught them how to use Clo3D, to navigate through the system, meaning software, We demonstrated how to digitally pattern cut, assemble the garment, and how to create virtual samples. Students also had a lot of self-study time for creativity and basically creatively expressing within the program, to work in teams and also to really learn from each other. Within the teaching hours and the time for creativity, we encouraged also the time for analyzing, especially the manual versus digital processes and outcomes. We tried to have multiple conversations about the material and time consumption. So students were really able to reflect on that and to see really potential sustainable benefits within the digital. Moving to the module description. Our module theme was airline dress. We tried to address sustainable development within our module. So we work from one of our Slovenian textile and clothing heritage. And we also worked with embroideries, which then transformed into prints. And also a red thread through our module were stripes. While we were developing the module, we had an idea that stripes might be able to complement our volumes of airline dresses and other shapes. So yeah, this was proven on the end that it worked really well. During this module, we collaborated with Tronog. Tronog is a Slovenian company working on visualization. They provide with 3D configurators, mass image production, and data presentation. We collaborated with them to scan physical materials, which were later used for visualizations. Scanning was kind of critical part for us since we wanted most realistic virtual garment, and we really had intention to compare virtual and physical garments on the end. So this was quite important. Also, I have to mention, Tronog is also organizing a workshop on topic digital tools for creativity, which currently is a bit postponed slightly because we are just waiting for better timing when most of the students are back at universities, and you will hear more about that in coming weeks. Moving to the content of the content per weeks, really. I will run you through the weekly tasks and what we have created weekly. After presentation of airline dress, its theory and good examples throughout the history, students refresh their memory of how to adjust and transform women's basic blocks into airline dress. This was done manually in 1:4 scale. And then afterwards, they were taught 4 different techniques to add volume. For all of those, students created a pattern and assembled the dresses in weight 1:4 scale. After completing those exercises, students creatively explored and applied those techniques in their own designs. And here we can see 3 small examples of that. They were asked to create a collection of minimum 6 styles in scale 1:4. We decided for smaller scale to avoid material consumption, really, and it was also proving to be more time efficient on the end. So each student created 6 styles, assembled them, and photographed in the studio. All those photos were later used for applying prints. Still in the first week, in the meantime, students worked on scanning pre-made manual embroideries. They were then guided on how to digitally implement those embroideries in Adobe Photoshop and create additional variations and develop those embroideries further. As I mentioned, we also provided a seminar on prints and stripes as an artistic element. So students then designed their collections of stripes and really learned how to create reports and all of that. Once students created their own stripes, we taught them how to apply prints onto the garment in the image only for now. They used photos of their manual 1:4 scale collections for that. And really, I have to say, this exercise we have done with them, it was purely to later compare this technique to the one they've done in Clo 3D, really. Moving to week 2. Week 2 was for learning about Clo 3D software, its layout, and how to navigate through it. In this week, we imported the base block for women's dress and show students how to virtually sew and visualize the dress on an avatar. In week 3, so moving to week 3, where students worked on digital manipulation of the darts and pattern cutting an Ellen dress. So we basically repeated the techniques of adding volume, which we have already done manually in week 1, but this time we created the same techniques in the digital environment. So we created 4 patterns, or really 5 patterns and 5 virtual examples. And once we completed this digital exercise and kind of compared how much easier or difficult in some cases the digital was in comparison with manual, then we started with more creative work, and students started to work in pairs. They were creatively exploring and applying those techniques to their own designs, and pair created a collection of minimum 6 styles again. So you can see one of the collection here. Some more examples of this week. Part of this exercise I have to mention was also to create snapshots for each garment. So students were able to present their work weekly to the teachers. Weekly presentations allowed us to critically review the process and outcomes. That way we were also able to make sure really that we are on track with the module. So we met each student weekly. In week 4, we started to apply prints and embroideries that they have created. So we prepared some lessons on this topic, and then students creatively applied the materials, prints and colors to their garment. So in this case, you can see one of the embroideries that was later placed on the garment. So each pair first selected one of the virtual garments from the collection, and then creatively, basically they just created different versions of this garment with different prints they made. So yeah, those are some more examples. Ideally, we wanted them to create a collection of 6 versions, like it's presented here. So one garment with at least 6 or more different patterns applied on. So we try to show them this way, but I have to say that some choose to work obviously on more than one. I guess they just felt creative and empowered, so they created more options, or perhaps they just maybe didn't understand that they can work just on one. But this was the time I think I want to share that students really had the biggest wow effect in the module. They were very surprised how easy and empowering it is to use Clo for applying materials and prints. They were fascinated on how instant the change is, and they noticed that they can design, or they can develop their design much quicker, and also they are able to do fast decisions when they see changes so instantly. in week 5, yeah, this is week 5, which for us as was the final week, we shared with students the virtual materials we prepared together with Ronald that I mentioned before. So at that time, they were also briefed on what physical materials they can use to create one of their styles. Scanned materials and prints had to be incorporated in one of their collections, at least in one style or more in the collection, along with obviously other prints and embroideries they have developed through the model themselves. So students started to work in groups on this stage. Each pair brought to the group what they have done in the process so far, and together they prepared a virtual collection of, again, at least 6 styles. This is one style in one of the collection, for example, maybe another example. At that time, we also taught them how to create print layout or marker, and then help them with plotting, so they were able to sew their patterns together to create a garment. And yeah, our deliverables. Each group created a collection of at least 6 styles. They created digital patterns and virtual samples for each style. They also choose one of the virtual garments to make them physically. So you can see one of the examples here. We encourage them to create a lookbook snapshots for each style and compare those that are made physically. So they were able to reflect on the differences or similarities. We try to examine how realistic are virtual garments and if the fabric truly translates well in the virtual space. Photos, some more examples of the final garments. I have to say that most students were really impressed by similarity between virtual and physical. They also really recognized the value of print layouts, the way they were able to be placing their patterns, prints, very intentionally to match or mismatch, in our case, those stripes. So yeah, I can speak for all teachers involved in this process. I think we are impressed. We are impressed what first-year students were able to accomplish in such a short time, and we are truly happy with the result of 5-week module. Altogether, we had 8 groups of 3 to 4 students, so we created 8 virtual collections and 8 physical garments. Working in groups also gave our students a new experience of working in teams and allowing them to learn from each other, which they also recognized on the end. That way, we also produce way less physical material that we would alternatively. We collected some reflections from students on the final presentation. Mainly, students agreed that the course was intense, potentially too intense, but they recognized that they had huge progress in learning. Here, I will share some anonymous reflections we received from them after the course. So one say, it was challenging at first, especially figuring out the Clo 3D, how it works. But once we got the hang of it, it made the design process quite easy. One more, I think it was an excellent experience, but also very stressful one. Maybe if we had more time, it could have been more enjoyable. This one really struck me, to be honest. And maybe the last one I'm sharing with you today, I think the designing pattern digitally and seeing the outcome virtually is a great way to work sustainably and to not waste paper, fabric, and other materials. I will definitely use this more often. It is also less time consuming, which is great. So I choose this one because it was finishing with a positive note. This was all from my side. In this module, we were involved multiple teachers and 3 of our associate partners, Tronog, Milavert, and Center Rock. Yeah, thank you for listening. That was all from my side.
Nastya, thank you very much. And I would like to ask audience if anybody has any question for Nastya or us from University of Ljubljana. No. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I rushed through.
Yeah.
So hopefully you understood me. I was speaking quite fast because I didn't want to waste the time.
Oh,
Sorry for
thank
that.
you, Nastya. So, Crystal, your hand is up. Please.
Yes. No, I thought perhaps, thank you very much, both Vilikia and UL, for your presentation. And I was just thinking that perhaps you can just also say a little bit about what it was like being teachers implementing this. You did it for the first time, because admittedly both Vilikia and DSKD have implemented it like 4 or 5 years ago. So perhaps you can tell us what was it like being the teachers implementing it now, because you're virtually learning it more or less at the same time as you had to teach somebody.
Yeah, I think for us was definitely a bit more challenging. So at our university, we haven't done either digital pattern cutting, neither virtual prototyping, anything like that. So clearly that was a huge learning curve for all of us. I personally joined the team because of my experience in virtual designing and digital pattern cutting. But yeah, I think I can speak for all of the teachers on our side. They learned some new skills and it was intense, but we managed through that. And I think that's why maybe we are really proud of what our students achieved this year, especially because clearly it was also our challenge to, navigate all of that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. But Crystal, I would like to ask you again, if there's nobody would like to ask anything else, for introducing us the work package 3, please.
Yeah, I think we have Fernanda has a question.
Yes.
Sorry, Fernanda.
No worries. No, first of all, thank you all so much. It's such an amazing project. I was here delighted looking to that and gave me so many inspiration, I think, and it's so rich to see the students' work, the professors' work, and how you all managed to put all of this together. It was super inspiring. I loved seeing from the SDK how you started with the history of mannequins, because it's always important that we remember that cloth, it's a tool, first of all. And the way we create fashion will continue the same. We're just adding a digital tool. So it's very important when we bring the students to continue with their design process, maybe as they done before, or trying to encourage it in a different way. So it was also really nice to see how University of Ljubljana did that with the toiles, the short dolls. It was super nice to see, and then how you first added the prints in Photoshop, and after they could see the experience in Clo, and how easy it is with just some clicks. You can change the size and play around with the prints. I liked when you said that it was the wall effect. When they saw how easy, with some clicks, you can do it. And also from WDKA, the archiving process, This is something that we've been talking a lot here in CLO. We oh, sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I'm from CLO. So here in CLO, we also have our little research group where we dedicate ourselves to understand how CLO can be implemented in fashion schools. And it's something that we are looking at right now. How do we archive this process? Because we know how important it is, right? When we build our portfolio and we register our idea in our design process. So I found it super interesting as well to see that WDKA is also looking at that. One question that I had is, what were you using? Is it Miro or is something like similar to Miro?
Yes. In this case, we used the Miro board. Like in the beginning, we tried to do it within our system of like cloud system of the academy, but it was not so visual. So we did swap to Miro at some point, also because they could all then work on one board. So it would really be this visual experience.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Yes. I believe we're going to have access afterwards to the presentation, right? Because I'd love to go through it again. Yeah, great. And also University of Ljubljana, you mentioned that one idea was to encourage the students in using digital for the design process. Do you think you've achieved this?
Yeah, I think we did. Well, it was slightly different way of creating, I think, for students, because maybe when they work manually, they are able to drape, and this isn't really something we taught them how to do in CLO within 5 weeks, because it is intense. So clearly it was different experience for them, but they were able to express themselves way more. I would say that, but also this was on the week 4 and 5 when we started to implement the materials in, that they started to be even more creative and all of that. But maybe it depends also because it was, you know, just a bit more skills they gained by that time. But yeah, definitely they were showing quite a lot of creativity, I think, through the process. It was slightly different, but a good way, I think.
Nice. Yes. Fantastic. So well done, everyone. And thank you.
Thank you, Fernanda. I see that Ula, you would like to ask something?
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you for sharing all this amazing work and this huge body of work as well. I'm Ulla Rebel, as Kristel mentioned, and I'm with DSKD, where I work in the Lab for Sustainability and Design. But I'm curious to ask the students 2 questions, if I may. And one is, if Claude 3D changed your aesthetic language somehow, and if it did, in what way it was the first question. Is there anyone who has been thinking about that? No? Okay, I have another question then. If the course changed your own perception of yourself as a designer, when you work in different ways, maybe you discover different aspects of yourself as a designer, and whether there was any reflection on this during the course.
I can say something.
Yeah.
Well, I think from the beginning, thought it would be really difficult to work in CLO because I usually work with my hands, like physical. But I think the way to use CLO is like the experiments go a bit faster than usual, and that was like a thing I have taken with me to like new projects, to like go in and just make the small experiments, and then when one of them is like, oh, this is what I want to go further with, I use my hands to like make it in reality. Yeah.
So are you saying that it was helping you to better arrived at what you were visioning somehow, or did it take you to new ways?
I think that it took me just to use as a new tool in my toolbox, and that like a development in my process to be better at like exploring a lot more, because it's a bit easier, because it goes a bit faster, even though that it's a struggle to work in Clo, like because it takes time to learn the different tools. But when you have just some of them like figured out, it's easier to make the small experiments, and that's a tool that I can use more in my toolbox in different projects. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Nadine, I think that you had your hand up before. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's enough time.
Yes, we still have a minute or two.
Yeah, it's actually not so much a question, it's also more like a thank you. I mean, the students have been thanked, and I think it's amazing what you've been doing. But before we all developed this module, or all the different modules, we also trained a lot our teachers and developed this module. So I also would really like to thank them, and we are continuing this. I think it was also for us like a steep learning curve, and how can we teach this? And I would really like to thank all the teachers participating in the trainer modules who were prior to developing these modules. And thank you for your time and the effort you spent in developing this. And it's amazing to see the results.
Thank you, Nadine. I totally agree with you. Thank you to all. Any other opinion on that? Okay, I think that we managed to create a quite good team, all of us together, that we can continue to the next work package that Crystal, I hope you're going to present us, please.
Yes, I'll do that. Yeah, so, well, yeah, it's been quite a journey, and it's been great, and lucky us, we're in for some more. So the next step here now that we finalized is we're going on to the second work package we're making, which is called You. And we have the focus on body scanning, and even more focus on inclusion, diversity, but of course also still the focus on a green transition. So I just need my computer to wake up again and come with me. So actually we have in our partner group, we have had our first kickoff meeting, a short meeting about now the work package 3 has started. It's called work package 3 because the overall 3 years of administration is called 1. So don't let yourself be fooled. It is the second development we're doing. It's just called work package 3. So this is about applying skills and knowledge, focusing on end user and production. And this is the very open framing of it. And we are going to meet up in a workshop in Kolding in less than 2 weeks from now. And personally, I'm very much looking forward to us all being together and developing. And we are going to do some body scan, and we are going to work on in Clo together. And there we will also have on the 27th of September, there will be a short workshop webinar where we will share our findings. And it will be a very much a still work in process and progress, but we'll send out the invitation, and if you have subscribed to our newsletter, you'll get it automatically. These are the overall aims of the work package to come. Develop again all the material for 3 courses. Each higher educational institution will develop a course that matches their existing curriculum and the way that their cultural educational system works. And we're going to have a focus on really understanding the end user and have a bit more of a democratic process and design. So we will have it valid, at least we will have it validated back, and we will have a closer connection to the end user. We build, with the progress we build on what they already know about, the students know about virtual prototyping. So will be the students who participated in this first year, they will follow the step 2 and the step 3 of the progress. This is what it looks like. This is where we are now, September, very green here. We've just, now we are delivering the final outcomes here. And then we start, and this will run, and we'll have the presentation most likely in September next year. We will develop the final framing at the same time, but because we have a whole schedule already laid out, we will execute the or implement at various times of the year. I think UL will start as the first, and followed by and we will finish just before, as the last bit before summer. We have at the design school Kolding the lead for this year to come, so therefore also we're meeting up in Kolding in less than 2 weeks from now. These are the reoccurring elements when we develop the module, so we make sure that we train the trainers, and therefore we are all going to go to see how body scan is being done. We develop modules with partners, so we align, but we still make sure we have 3 different modules. And then we go off and develop content and material, and we bounce it off each other, and we bounce it off also with our gets feedback from student teachers and associated partners, and then we finalize and we share again, and that will be in a year from now. These are the approximate times there will be something happening, and again we will let you know. And as for the associated partners, let us just know how much you want to participate. If you want to participate really closely, then that is always a possibility. We know you're also very busy, so a lot of respect for all the time that you spend on us. So this is the workshop. We go off and we start developing the content and material, and the finalizing I have not put a date on, because that will be depending on each institution. And then we finalize all the things for uploading and the final presentation for next year. And this was it from what is happening. You can, as I said, you can keep very close if you want to follow us, sign up for the newsletter. We will try, and I think we have also spent our first year really getting to know each other. I find that we are in the 3 institutions very alike and yet so different. We have, even just when we have our holidays, it's just like not at the same time in the summer at least. And but so the first year has also been very much about aligning, getting to know different cultures, but it's definitely also something that enriches in so many ways. So I think now when we meet up in Kolding, we will also look back at the first year and say, okay, what worked really well and where do we need to improve or make it different, and we're all the wiser now after a year together. I would like to say thank you as well for great collaboration. Tanya?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Crystal. And I would like to thank you all again for this very inspiring meeting, which I hope will give us all the motivation to do well in the next academic year. Where we will meet again very often, as Crystal said, very soon also in person, and we'll create new, even more amazing results with our amazing students, and of course with the help of our partners which joined us here today as well. So thank you again to all of you, and have a nice day, nice evening, and see you soon. Bye.